Yes. James McGrath is an LNP senator. He's in Canberra right now. Is Parliament back up and running, or what's Canberra for?
I'm here for Canberra because tomorrow morning we've got a hearing into Holden and how General Motors treated Holden. So I wanted to be in the room with some of the other senators as we quiz various people as to what happened with General Motors and Holden. Well, that's why I'm in Canberra. I prefer to be out on the road in Queensland. This program a couple of times later in the week. You know I care about it, and I'm sure you'll ask, but just ask General Motors or somebody on their behalf, will they sell the Holden brand back to the Australian government for $1? $1, because we all want to make sure that doesn't end up getting bought by Great Wall or somebody else. That question will be asked.
Good man. Not for optics, which is a wank word that lefties use, but for accountability. Would you like to see the ATO turn around and say out a few more businesses like the one that Liz is talking about here?
Yeah, I would, because it's the taxpayers' money that is being spent here.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure the taxpayers are getting value for money. So, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the tax office, doing some of the things they do, because that's just where I come from. But if they can out a couple of businesses who are rorting the taxpayers' money, then I think, yeah, they should be put out there.
LNP president has thrown in the towel. He's going to go. And apparently, Palmer has now confirmed he is going to be running candidates. What's your view of this bloke leaving the LNP? Does he leave it at the right time, the poorer time? I know all the issues with him and Deb Frecklington, but what does the party lose or gain by changing the person running it in Queensland so close to the election?
We've got to remember about the party presidency in Queensland. It's a voluntary position. And Dave, and I've got a confession to make, Dave is a friend of mine. He's got a young family, he's running a business and also having a full-time voluntary job as president of the party. He's done a good job in terms of the Brisbane City Council campaign, the federal election last year, but I think he would be the first to admit, once you become the story, you need to step away and hide for a bit, because the focus has got to be on who's going to be the Premier of Queensland, and that's Deb Frecklington or Palaszczuk. And every time we talk about internal party stuff, yeah, eyes do start to roll, because we should be focusing on all the bungles and bingles and scandals of Palaszczuk. And that's what the focus has got to be for the next 90 days, because otherwise, if Labor win, that's a 4-year hangover.
Yeah. I mean, you can always bet on the left for going too far. We've just got to make sure there's enough of us still left to be able to call them out when they go too far. But their game is, of course, slowly but surely, pick one off and one off and one off. And remember, it's not just about saying Liz Storer said the wrong thing. It's Liz Storer must get life. She gets life. Delete her name from your phone.
Oh, totally. They're the modern version of the lynch mob. And what they're doing is they're creating prisons and gulags for words and thoughts, because words and thoughts that they disagree with are bad. So they want to hide them away somewhere. And, it's the story of the left ever since, the communists took over Imperial Russia. And we need people to always stand up for freedom and thought and all those beliefs that underpin our society. But what is reassuring, if there are a couple of leftists who have finally woken up to this tide they've been swimming along with themselves, well, that is a good thing. But if we didn't have programs like yours, we didn't have Sky, it would be the groupthink of the ABC. Correct. And the ABC is this monolith that doesn't believe in a diversity of views, but it believes in a diversity of left-wing views. But if you're not left-wing, well, you're not welcome on the ABC.
You, James McGrath?
Palaszczuk is going to start to bring in the wearing of masks in Queensland, and she's also going to bring in more border restrictions, and it's all a political ploy to help her win the state election.
Agree completely.